It's New Year's Eve, and as the ball drops, I'm mentally preparing myself for the next 31 days. I challenged myself to a month of silence after several difficult conversations with my family about how I talk too much and I don't listen. They were difficult conversations because I know it's true. But that's about to change, because this month, I'm not going to use my phone or computer, no TV or radio, and of course, no talking. How hard could that be? Look, it's only been 5 minutes and I'm facing my first hurdle. My friend is headed to the kitchen for ice cream and I want some, but somehow he's missing my completely obvious signal. And I'm beginning to entertain the idea that maybe I didn't fully think this challenge through. Now, so far, I've only made one exception to my no talking rule. I have to speak at work. But today, I'm making another. I'm visiting my granny as usual, but there's nothing usual about today. She's dying. As she lays in bed crying and begging me to read her the Bible, I won't refuse. And leaving her nursing home, I'm a mess. I just want to call my mom to talk about my visit, but I can't. Being unable to call, it feels like I've lost her too. So I head straight to her house to let her read my journal. Mid-sentence, she closes my journal and says, "Donna, I can't do this for a month. I'm depressed. Your silence feels like a death to me." What am I supposed to do with that? This challenge wasn't supposed to hurt anyone, so I made my second and final exception in just one day. It's the end of week 1, and each of my family members has a unique perspective on my not talking. As expected, my husband is really annoyed. My 10-year-old hates my silence. She thinks I'm just doing it to prove that I can. My 13-year-old is pretty thrilled that I can no longer interrupt her when she's speaking. And me? I have become painfully aware of how much I usually talk, how poorly I listen, and worse, how often I feel compelled to yell at all of them. It's the beginning of week 2. I'm focusing better, laughing more, and becoming more comfortable with silence. Since I'm no longer refereeing my kids, they have begun working out disagreements on their own. And without my cell phone, I'm handling less last-minute requests, so suddenly, I've got time for a nap. I'm really glad because I need time to emotionally prepare myself for this afternoon. I'm going to be visiting a chronically ill friend, which always makes me so anxious because there's nothing that I can do to fix it. So I want to entertain or to ask the right questions or to be there in the right way. But I don't know how to just be, so I talk. As our disturbingly quiet visit comes to an end, I write, "Was my silence uncomfortable for you today?" It didn't take her 2 seconds to say not at all, which shocks me because it was very awkward for me. But she goes on to explain that sometimes when people are hurting or going through hard times, simply being present is more important than making conversation. I guess I had never really thought of it that way. It's the beginning of week 3, and I'm not even halfway through this challenge. Silence has become almost physically painful for me. When my family turns off the TV or radio and silence returns, I can hear everything. From the hum of the furnace to the breath of my dogs, but my thoughts, they are deafening. I'm feeling a deep sense of sadness sinking into my heart, and my journal, it's become almost human to me. I'm angry, and I'm frustrated, and I'm trying to hold back tears. It's not just that I can't talk. It's this deep well of emotions that I no longer have an outlet for, and I feel like I'm drowning. It's becoming evident to me that talking is as much of an emotional release as it is a form of communication. And I thought that my not talking was going to be this really big problem in public. But sadly, it's not. I'm shocked to discover that people just don't talk to each other. The world is much less friendly than I remember it, and I'm starting to understand my introverted friends a little better. They've often told me that silence in conversation is natural, but it's one of the scariest things in the world to me. I always feel compelled to fill it. It's the beginning of week 4. My friends and family are more than ready for me to start talking, and so am I. But I'm noticing so many positive changes that I'm committed to seeing this through. For instance, my family is being more open. They're talking to me more than ever. Or perhaps I'm finally learning to listen. The best part, we have all become amazing at charades. But do you have any idea how much physical effort it takes for a talker like me to not talk? It's day 23, and my jaw has locked up. It aches like I've been chewing on a giant gumball for hours, and my tongue, it's huge. There's visible imprints of my teeth on the sides, and all day I remind myself, 8 more days. You can do 8 more days. It's finally the 31st. But time is crawling. So I sit down for my final journal entry of the month, page 414. At midnight, I lay down my pen, close my journal, and as promised, wake my family with a long overdue Happy New Year. Now today, I struggled with how to explain to you that everything is exactly the same, and yet profoundly different. My family and I are communicating more effectively than ever, which was the goal, but it wasn't my family who changed, it was me. I used to allow myself to only feel and express positive emotions like gratitude and joy, and when those difficult emotions would come, I would quickly dismiss them so I didn't have to feel it. But in the silence and without distractions, I had no way to keep anger and sadness, frustration and fear from flooding in, and I was forced to face it. It was terrible. And for the next several months, I continued to allow myself to feel and express these emotions. And I honestly believed that by allowing those emotions, I was becoming a worse human being. But in time, I discovered that those negative emotions, all of our emotions, it's part of what makes us human. And I also discovered that unless we acknowledge and fully surrender everything that we believe makes us broken, we can never fully be made whole.